Live only on DAZN. He silenced Britain's best. Usyk, the Brit breaker, but now the dynamite is ready to explode. One night, one shot, and undisputed. Usyk versus Dubois 2. July 19th. Right now at DAZN.com/boxing.
All right, people. Review of the week time. So, this is going to be proper podcast style, isn't it? You know, just the clips you see on screen and me talking over. I honestly can't wait till I'm back in London and I can get back into the studio and get back to what the way they were looking. They were looking good. I finally had the camera and the lighting set up before I decided to come home and see some friends and family for the weekend. But this will go out Monday. I'm back in London on Tuesday. We look forward to that. Let's talk about the weekend's action. Let's talk about the news that happened last week. I'm probably not going to get a crazy amount of time in review of the week this week. I'm probably going to keep this one maybe kind of 20-ish minutes. The good side about doing this audio is because I can see the timer, so I can work it, because normally I can't see a timer when I'm doing it, you know, on camera. So there we go. But let's start review of the week by talking about the weekend's action. There was really only the Matchroom show, which was on last night. Obviously, this is Sunday when I'm recording it. Matchroom show happened last night. It was headlined by Jack Catterall, Harlem, Eubank. On the undercard, we've seen a return in Joe Cordina. Now, I have to say, I had some So Joe Cordina is an interesting one, right? I believe he's trained by Gary Lockett now. He was trained by Tony Sims, if I'm not very much mistaken. Looking very devastating under Tony Sims when he won his world title and you know, looking the business. And then all of a sudden, he just wasn't. Yep, a lot of fighters with Tony Sims that happened to, but anyway, he looked not the best on that Monaco show a couple of years ago, and then he got stopped by Anthony Cacace on the undercard of Fury Usyk 1. He was meant to fight Shakur Stevenson, I believe, if I'm not very much mistaken, it would have been on the undercard of Beterbiev Bivol 1. I will talk about that now in a wee bit as well. The fight didn't happen. This was his comeback fight. He fought a Mexican fighter whose name I can't actually remember because I don't have BoxRec opened. But yeah, Cordina went through the motions. He was the better of the two. Definitely, you could see that. He was the more polished. But I'm not really holding out much hope. He's fighting at lightweight now. I can't really hold out much hope on Joe Cordina doing a crazy amount at lightweight. To be fair to Joe Cordina, because he really is, he was one of Eddie Hearn's signings when Eddie Hearn was one of the main guy in British boxing. And Eddie Hearn just pretty much had his pick of Team GB. So whether they were Olympians or whether they were high-level Team GB, nearly all of them, certainly in that Rio 2016 squad, turned pro at Matchroom. And Cordina was kind of one of the guys who went under the radar. He always looked good without ever looking great. And he emerged as a real dark horse. He's done better than Josh Kelly. He's done better than Joshua Boazzi. He's done better than Anthony Fowler, because he was one of the guys. I'm sure there was someone else as well, but he's done better than most. He really has. So we'll see what he's doing. He's kind of in the twilight, you would say, of his career now. And then obviously the main event was Jack Catterall, Harlem, Eubank. Horrific fight, as I said. It was dull. It was boring. It was not compelling viewing for the 6 rounds that we got. Look, it takes two to tango. Harlem Eubank, I've never been massively impressed with him, and he's put on some stinkers in the past as well. Jack Catterall, obviously we know he's put on some big stinkers as well. So when you get that combination, you know, it's not a recipe for, you know, edgier seat stuff. It's not a Gatti Ward type affair. You know, you're thinking, oh boy, this could be a long 36 minutes, a very long 36 minutes. It wasn't. Jack Catterall won by a technical decision. Honestly, he won every round. He really did. I never realized. Now, I knew this was a rule, right? So in a technical decision, you have to score. So if a fight is caused by a clash of heads and you're in round 8, we'll say, you make it a minute into that round, you have to score that round. Now, I knew that. But considering the fact that round 7 hadn't started, I was kind of like, right, why are they scoring round 7? That doesn't make any sense, because, like, how can you give a round to someone, either guy, when nothing's happened? I don't like to give even rounds, but, like, that's one case where you kind of have to give. How can you give a round to someone that where, like, it's 1 second, I believe, was what David Diamante said. 1 flipping second. How do you even? I don't know. That's a weird one. But yeah, Jack Catterall, clear winner. completely just outclassed Harlem Eubank. You could see the skill gap was just massive. What does Jack Catterall do at 147 pounds? Well, the rumour mill is that I think it's September, October, and I'm hearing Windsor Park. It's one of the rumoured locations for the Lewis Crooker Paddy Donovan rematch. Now that will be for the vacant IBF title now that Boots Ennis has now moved up and vacated. Makes the most sense, doesn't it? I mean, I would make Paddy Donovan firm favourite. I mean, he pretty much beat the brakes off Lewis Crooker, only to end up getting himself disqualified first time around. He should, and Lewis Crooker's going to have a hard time recovering from that because psychologically he took a beating in there against Paddy Donovan. I would make Paddy Donovan firm favourite. If he wins, he becomes world champion. It's an in-house fight, matchroom, Catterall, Donovan. I would make Paddy Donovan firm favourite against Jack Catterall, to be honest with you. Jack Catterall is a good boxer, and that's about it. You know, Paddy Donovan has a bit of charisma. If you ever hear him speak, he's a good speaker. He's got a bit of charisma. He's electric in the ring. He's fast. He's powerful. Man, Paddy Donovan is legit. He is legit. And I would make him firm favourite over Jack Catterall if they were ever to meet. Makes sense. You give Jack Catterall his world title shot. Paddy Donovan, that's his kind of, you know, coming out party, world level. You beat Jack Catterall. I'd make him firm favourite. Really would. Make him firm favourite over Catterall. And there you go. So it makes a lot of sense. I think that's the matchmaking that Eddie Hearn should go down. In terms of the fallout from that fight, obviously Turki Alalshikh took to X last night, and he was obviously watching the fight and did not leave a particularly good review on it. Now, Turki was saying a couple of weeks ago that he doesn't want these Tom and Jerry fights anymore, you know, the cat chasing the mouse, essentially running around the ring. He was saying that this fight wasn't Tom and Jerry, it was Jerry and Jerry, and that it wasn't boxing. Well, as I said in a previous video, it is boxing. People really do get their wires crossed with the sweet science as opposed to running. What Jack Catterall was doing there wasn't running, nor was Harlem Eubank. They weren't running. William Skull ran against Canelo. Erislandy Lara ran against Canelo. What they were doing was they were just boxing. The problem is that neither man is known for their aggression. You can be a boxer and maybe not the biggest puncher like neither guy is, but if you're actually, you know, working, if you're setting a good tempo, if you're actually trying to hurt said opponent with the punches, you can take a boxing match and make it a bit more entertaining. And I think that's what Turki is trying to get at. I think a lot of fans, at the end of the day, right, the fans complaining about what Turki said in that tweet, at the end of the day, and they can say, oh, no, I wouldn't. Yeah, you would. You would be the first to complain, this fight is terrible, I want to see punches thrown. And just because Turki is pointing it out, oh, that's not appropriate. Yes, that's not appropriate. I'm so virtuous. Well, no. At the end of the day, I want to be entertained. It's an entertainment sport. Oh yeah, I'm all for watching. You know, I'm all for seeing, you know, the sweet science in action. Yeah, I've seen it plenty of times. But at the same time, I want to be entertained. You know, when you're sitting watching a fight and you're thinking, should I have gone out? Should I have seen my friends? I'm sat here watching the fight, and it's just, you know. I've seen area level fighters where I've seen more entertainment, you know. So, you know, I get what Turki is saying. So that's my thoughts on the whole Matchroom show. Turki, obviously, yeah, giving his 2 cents. So I wouldn't be expecting to see Jack Catterall on any Riyadh shows anytime soon. In terms of the boxing news, well, it's being reported that Artur Beterbiev, Dmitry Bivol, the trilogy fight is actually going to get pushed now to 2026. I don't know what that means for, well, either guy this year. Does that, well, obviously they're contractually obliged to do the trilogy fight now. Does that mean that both guys are out of the ring now until next year? If it is, and look, I've said this before, I make Bivol favourite going into this trilogy fight. The longer they leave it, the more it's going to favour Dmitry Bivol, because I'm not wrong in saying, Artur Beterbiev will be 41 come the end of January next year. So, like, you know, at the end of the day, it's amazing he's still able to operate at this level, even at 40. But more time out of the ring, more time, you know, as an agent fighter. Man, I think Bivol will win the trilogy fight even more soundly. And, you know, I mean, both fights were razor close. Both fights were competitive. I felt that, yeah, you know, upon reflection, Beterbiev probably did nick the first fight. Bivol, for my money, definitely won the second fight. But I reckon Bivol will probably win the third fight clearly this time, because I think Beterbiev, the longer you leave it, the more he's going to show signs of aging. And yeah, that's basically my 2 cents on that one. Turkey's also announced a Riyadh show, which will be happening in November. He's talked about having potentially Itauma, should he get by Dylan White, which I think is a pretty safe bet, to be honest with you. Itauma versus Bakole. Obviously, it's going to have Brian Norman Jr. versus Devin Haney. Really good fight. That could really be an interesting fight, amongst others. But one of the fights he has on the undercard, which is apparently now agreed, is David Benavidez defending his WBC 175-pound title against Anthony Yarde. Now, Callum Smith, he is obviously going to maybe wait his turn and just wait and see what happens. Well, obviously, he's going to be mandated to fight the winner of Beterbiev Bivol. He probably sees that as a bigger paying fight, the winner of Beterbiev Bivol, because, you know, they're big names. Although saying that, you know, Benavidez, you know, he would have brought in some nice money, but hey, maybe he just wants to wait his turn and go for that rather than go and fight Dave Benavidez. So in steps Anthony Yarde. There was rumours that Yarde and Smith will be fighting at some stage this year. Obviously, that's not now going to happen. It's going to be Benavidez versus Anthony Yarde. And I have to give Anthony Yarde props. I give him credit. When a world title fight comes, he never shies away from a challenge. You know, he fought Kovalev in Russia. He fought Artur Beterbiev. Obviously, he fought him in London. And now, this, again, 3 world title fights against 3 very good, very tough, very good champions. I don't think he's got a sniff of a prayer of beating Dave Benavidez. As I've said several times about Anthony Yarde, I've always bigged him up. I've always said he's got talent. And I think he's unfulfilled potential. I really do. I think Anthony Yarde just made a catastrophic mistake of staying with not a bad trainer, but a limited trainer. Tunde Ajayi has taken Anthony Yarde as far as he's ever going to take him, and now at this stage it's a case of old dog new tricks. You leave him, alright, leave him, but you ain't going to learn anymore. You're in your mid-30s now. You know, that ship was well and truly sailed. You know, the best time to leave Tunde was probably after the Kovalev fight. Probably after the Kovalev fight, because you should have realised then, alright, I've peaked here. I've peaked. But he didn't. He stayed loyal to him throughout his career. Yeah, he's made a lot of money. He's also made some crazy decisions. But you could argue as well, Yarde is maybe now on the decline, because he fought Lyndon Arthur in the trilogy fight on the undercard of Ben Eubank, won it, but didn't look good in doing it. And this, bear in mind, the last time they fought was a couple of years prior, and he walked through Lyndon Arthur, no problem. Then he had that really tough fight against Vilkans, where some people feel that without the knockdown that he scored literally with the first punch of the fight, he could very well have lost that fight. So Yarde could be on the decline. Benavidez is well and truly in his prime, and I think he's going to beat the living crap out of Anthony Yarde. Probably stop him late. That's what I think will happen. But the card itself in November is looking quite good. So Turki Alalshikh really planning ahead. Riyadh season looks to be in full force. We're also going to see Anthony Joshua come back at some stage later this year. He's been obviously mentioning Tyson Fury earlier on this year, but now, because, well, Jarrell Miller actually is someone who mentioned during the week that Anthony Joshua turned the fight down with him. Now again, as I said in several videos, it's Jarrell Miller. You take it with a grain of salt. He's also saying that Joshua could be fighting Jared Anderson. But the fact that Anthony Joshua is coming back, he sounds very hungry. He seems to just want to, you know, hit the ground running, go in, get a move on, not be dilly-dallying around with little comeback fights against whoever, and just go straight for the jugular and go and try and do something in the heavyweight division. That's quite good. I'm happy about that because, again, he's 36 years old now. Well, I think he's nearly 36. I think he'll be 36 come October, I think. So, you know, get a move on. I like the fact that if it is Jared Anderson, well, you're fighting a younger heavyweight. It might do you all the good in the world in terms of confidence-wise to be beating a heavyweight from this current crop, this new crop who'll be eventually, you know, at the forefront. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Anthony Joshua come back. He certainly seems to be in a very, very good headspace. He really, truly does. And what I also hope he does is that he just forgets about Tyson Fury. Because obviously the big talking point last week, the really only point to talk about last week, was the fact that Tyson Fury announced that he was coming out of retirement, as if he ever was retired. But alright, we'll go with that. So he announced, Tyson Fury, that he was coming out of retirement, that he was looking to fight Alexander Usyk. He wants the trilogy fight with Alexander Usyk. And Turki Alalshikh confirmed as much and said that Tyson Fury has confirmed that he will fight in Riyadh season in 2026, meaning then that he will not be fighting this year. So the calendar year of 2025, there won't be a Tyson Fury fight. I would imagine, just given the fact that Turki Alalshikh said that. He mentioned that they are on the hunt for a rabbit, and there was also a tease that April 2026, April 18, 2026, we would be seeing Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk, the trilogy fight. Now, that was broke, I think, on Thursday. I think it was broke sometime Thursday morning. But, we'd all talked about it, and I think Friday or Saturday, they were saying that, oh, no, that's not the case. We're just kind of waiting and seeing. Well, I'll be the first to say, I hope to God, and I mean this, I hope to God that this is not true, right? If Tyson Fury wants to come back, that's fine. I never believed he was going away anyway. But there is no way in hell he should be able to lose twice to Alexander Usyk, retire, and then just snap his fingers, come back, get an instant world title shot. That's complete BS right there. That's complete BS right there. It should not be happening. If he wants to come back, that's fine. Earn your title shot. Earn it. You want to go in there and fight for a WBC title? Fight Aja Kabayel then. No problem coming back. Fight Aja Kabayel. Fight Joseph Parker. Fight F.A. Ajagba, Martin Bakole, etc. Do something. But there's no way in hell you should be able to just waltz in, losing back-to-back fights to Alexander Usyk. And he's still trying to dispute and say, I actually won these fights. No, you didn't. No one believes you. The people who do, they're the kind of people, if you tell them, the moon's made of cheese, they'll look to get a spaceship up there with 2 slices of white bread, think they can eat a sandwich or something. That's the kind of people who believe Tyson Fury actually beat Alexander Usyk both times, which he clearly didn't. So Fury coming back, listen, he comes back at the end of the day. As I said about Anthony Joshua, don't fixate on Tyson Fury, fixate on your career, fixate on the last year, roughly year or so, 18 months of your career, and try and maximize what you can do with what little time you have left in your respective career. That's what I gotta say. And all of this is being mentioned, it's all being talked about, when in actual fact, in less than a fortnight's time, Alexander Usyk steps in to fight Daniel Dubois, who is a very live underdog. Make no mistake about that. Daniel Dubois is very live. So all this planning ahead, and this might happen, it's all on the basis that Alexander Usyk beats Daniel Dubois, which I think he probably will, but it's no guarantee he does that. Absolutely none. And it's one thing about Turkey that I don't like, is that, one of the main things I don't like is he does this. He plans fights too far ahead. He's like, this guy's going to beat this guy. He's going to fight him. He's like, hang on a minute. You're making 50-50 fights. So there's a 50-50 chance he's going to lose that fight. So don't make plans ahead when those plans could be absolutely, especially not in the heavyweight division. Jesus, don't do that. I'm talking about Moses Itauma versus Bakole, saying I'm sure he'll get through Dillian Whyte, but there is a chance. Dillian Whyte has power in the left hook, and we don't know what Itauma's chin is like. God only knows what might happen, so never make plans in the heavyweight division. That's what I gotta say. In terms of other news, we'll finish it on this. A bit of somewhat good news, you could say. Jake Paul and his absurd, ridiculous, disgraceful, we'll insert more words, just farcical, laughable, completely ridiculous number 14 ranking with the WBA. The WBA are reviewing that because a lot of fighters, a lot of contenders are very angry about that. They don't feel that it's fair that Jake Paul got that ranking, which is completely unfair. It's completely ridiculous that he ever got that ranking. He's beaten a nearly 60-year-old Mike Tyson in an 8-rounder, and then Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in a 10-rounder, who hasn't had a meaningful win since Andy Lee over a decade ago. I mean, that was Emmanuel Stewart, one of his last fights before he passed away. Emmanuel Stewart was still alive when Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. got his last noticeable win. Let that sink in, all right? So, yeah, 110%. I am hoping that they do remove him from the WBA rankings. Not to have a go with Jake Paul, trying to baby out with the bat war. I'm not doing that. It's not his fault. But the rankings, the WBA, doing that in the first place is an absolute joke. We all know that. Jake Paul should never be anywhere near the WBA rankings. He's done absolutely nothing to warrant a top 15 ranking, much less 14th in the rankings, when there are fighters who, maybe they're not beating the greatest caliber of opposition, but they're beating actual people who, you could say, okay, put it like this, they're probably beating guys that Jake Paul would struggle with. Man lost to Tommy Fury 2 years ago, remember? So yeah, that's what I think on that. It just seemed like more of a gimmick thing from the WBA. Oh, we've got Jake Paul in the rankings. He's never going to fight for a world title, but he's there anyway. It's just ridiculous. That's what I think on that one. So yeah, I think we are good to go. We are just coming up to the 20-minute mark. So that is review of the week for this week. It's been weird, you know. I just find it so strange not talking into a camera, because I just hook up a little mic to the sound and just talk, and it's weird. I haven't done this in a long time. I've always talked into a camera, so it's been strange. It's been strange, but I will get a new tripod for here, because I come home once a month, as many of you know, so I need to keep things the same as always when I do come home. So yeah, I will leave it there. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the visuals as well. There's plenty of them there. And if you could, smash the like button, hit subscribe. The views have been electric the last couple of weeks. The subscribers have been going up every day, so I appreciate it greatly. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. And until next time, I will leave it there. Peace and love, people.